Hello everyone, Vincent Teo from HDTV Test here. I've received the Sony XE94 for review. It's also known as the Bravia X940E in the United States. It's a 75-inch full array local dimming LED LCD from Sony for the year 2017. Now, I was going to do an unboxing video. There's no way I can unbox this beast all by myself, so I've asked a few people to help. But none of them are willing to go on camera. They're all very camera shy. So we have to unbox the Sony XE94 without filming it whatsoever. But if you're interested in learning how to unbox this television, the procedure and the bits and pieces are very similar to the XE93, the smaller Sony XE93 that I've unboxed a few weeks ago, and there's an unboxing video. We did an unboxing video for that. So if you're interested in learning how to unbox this XE94, go and search for our Sony XE93 unboxing video, and the process is very similar, and hopefully they'll give you a good idea. Right, no unboxing video, so what shall we do then? I thought that I would just go through a few of the improvements that I found on the Android 7.0 Nougat update on this television. My review sample, when it was sent to me, it was already loaded with Android 7.0, Android TV 7.0. So I'm just going to go through some of the improvements. And also, as you can see here, I'm displaying SkyQ on this television, so I'm going to talk about a few things that you need to do to get the highest picture quality from a SkyQ silver box on this television. Let's get started. Okay, the Android Nougat 7.0 update has started rolling out on the 2017 Sony Bravia televisions over the past couple of weeks. And out of the box, this TV has already been loaded with this new software update. There are a few improvements that, in my opinion, are actually quite worthwhile. It may not actually be in the release notes. In the release notes, there are various very nice upgrades, like picture-in-picture mode, the picture-in-picture mode here, and also HLG compatibility, in that this TV now can play back HLG encoded files. HLG stands for hybrid log gamma. It is the broadcast HDR standard that is developed by the BBC and the NHK. And when HDR content is broadcast over the air or through digital satellite, they will mostly be using the HLG format in the UK and Europe. So this TV is now compatible with HLG content. I played a couple of HLG encoded video clips on this TV through the USB port, and it played them perfectly without any problem whatsoever. And in terms of other undocumented features that I really like about the Android 7 update, I'll just show you. Most of them are to do with user interface and how it affects calibration. Previously, on the Android TV system, if I actually bring up the picture menu to try and make any adjustment, this portion here would cover more than half the screen. So as a calibrator, I usually place my meter right in the center of the screen to measure a central patch. Even if it's not a windowed pattern that I'm using, even if I'm using a full field pattern, I usually place my meter right in the center of the screen. Now, if you have a user menu that actually covers more than half the screen, that creates a small problem for me, because what it does is that, you're reading. I usually take a reading in real time from the center of the screen. Once this menu comes up and covers the screen, it will obscure the measurements, and my measurements will go haywire for a few seconds, which affects the measurements and my workflow and my speed and my efficiency. So I'm very pleased to see Sony reduce the area coverage of this picture menu to about a third on the right side of the screen. So my meter can still take the reading from the center of the screen without it being covered or affected by this user menu here. Also, if you remember on previous Android TV systems, if I go into the advanced menu and if I try to make any adjustment to the color temperature when calibrating the grayscale, let's say if I wanted to adjust R gain, which stands for rate gain. On previous Android TV systems, this adjustment slider would be much larger. It actually covers probably around this area here, and as a result, some of what us calibrators have to do is to actually raise our meter slightly to be slightly here rather than bang in the center. So we have to raise it because this adjustment slider actually covers a big portion of this right side here. So again, I'm very happy to see that Sony has reduced the area of this adjustment slider to a smaller size at the bottom right of the screen. And this is very important when calibrating OLEDs as well. As you know, OLED is affected by automatic brightness limiter, and if you have an adjustment slider that significantly changes the overall brightness of the screen, if you have a very large adjustment slider, it can actually affect the measurements. So a smaller adjustment slider at the bottom right of the screen is always better in terms of the consistency and the accuracy of the measurements, especially when it comes to OLED like the Sony Bravia A1 OLED that I've reviewed recently. Another area of improvement, again, I'm not sure whether this is well documented or not, but previously, on previous Android TV system, if you, for some reason or one reason or another, go into the Android TV home screen and you want to get out of it, the only way to get back to what you were watching before is to go to the input rack level, I mean the input shelf. Android calls these different levels shelf for some reason. So you have to get to the input and directly select the input, or you can manually assign your TV button on your remote to a specific HDMI input port and press it to get to that input directly, but it only applies to one input, and it's very tricky if you are watching, let's say, on another port that was actually not assigned to this TV button. So what the Android Nougat 7.0 update brought to the system in terms of an upgrade, how the Android 7.0 Nougat update improved this was that if you get into the Android 7 home screen, if you get into the Android TV home screen for whatever reason, I usually go into it to adjust certain settings that cannot be found directly in the picture adjustment menu. But if you get into it for one reason or another and you want to get out of it directly back to what you were watching before, all you need to do now is to press the back button and you will get back to whatever screen that you were watching before. And I think that this is a fantastic improvement, fantastic step forward in the usability of the Android TV system, certainly on the Sony televisions. Right, so with those improvements out of the way, what I'm going to talk about now is how to optimize SkyQ, a SkyQ silver box which is capable of 3840 x 2160 resolution on the Sony television. Now let me get into the SkyQ menu again. So if I get into the SkyQ menu, some of you may be aware of this, but some of you may not. But on the SkyQ box, on the SkyQ silver box, the highest bit depth and output that you can actually achieve is set to 2160p 8-bit here, but that's just for illustration. I'm just setting this up in this manner to illustrate what you need to actually do. So I've connected the SkyQ silver box to the Sony XE94 on the HDMI port 1, and if I press the info button, you can see that it is displaying an Ultra HD resolution of 3840 x 2160p. P stands for progressive. Now if I try and get a 10-bit signal out of it, you'll see that if I try to get a 10-bit signal out of it, you can see that it actually fails, right? So if I try again, right? If I try to get the SkyQ silver box to send a 10-bit signal to the Sony XE94, you'll see that it actually did not work. Trying Ultra HD in 10-bit color didn't work, and the reason is because even though the Sony XE94 or Sony XE94E offers 4 HDMI ports, only HDMI input 2 and 3 are the full bandwidth HDMI ports. By that I mean only those ports are capable of displaying 4K resolution at higher frame rate and higher bit depth and chroma if you set certain things correctly. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how to achieve that on the XE94 specific to the SkyQ system. So I'm going to go over to the left side of the display, swap the HDMI cable to HDMI 2, and then we'll proceed. Okay. right? And then I'm going to swap to HDMI 2. So I've swapped the HDMI cable from HDMI 1 to HDMI 2. I'll show you by pressing the info button on the remote. On the notification bar, the top banner, you can see that we are currently in HDMI 2, and it's displaying a video signal of an Ultra HD resolution of 3840 x 2160 progressive. Now let's try and get a 10-bit signal out of the SkyQ box now. The first thing that you need to do is to press the home button on the Sony remote control, go into the settings, and then change the external input, the HDMI signal format on this particular HDMI port, which is HDMI 2, from standard format to enhanced format. So I'm just going to go ahead and change it to enhanced. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get out from this, and again a back button, direct press of the back button on the Sony remote will take you straight from the Android TV home screen back to what you were watching before, which is fantastic following the Android 7 update. And what we're going to do is we're going to try and get a 10-bit signal, try and get the SkyQ box to recognize this TV as capable of 10-bit. So if we go here and we go and try and select 10-bit, hopefully you'll see that your TV, your Sony XE94. This applies to the ZD9, to the XE93 as well. So alright, I've talked too much, and I will try again. I've talked too long, and you need to press the confirm button within a few seconds. So if I just confirm it within 10 seconds, then it will stick the synchronization between the SkyQ Silver Box and the Sony XE94. And again, this applies to the XE93 and the Sony ZD9, which also have the same X1 Extreme chipset. So this applies to them as well, that you need to hook up your SkyQ Silver Box to HDMI port 2 or HDMI port 3, and then you'll need to go into the Android home screen to change the external input from standard format to enhanced format. Then try and get your SkyQ Silver Box to recognize that this TV is indeed capable of 10-bit. Then the SkyQ box will start sending 10-bit 2160p signal out from the HDMI output. So that's all I have to talk about for now. I'm sorry I couldn't do an unboxing video for the Sony XE94 or Sony Bravia X940E, but hopefully you've learned about a few improvements that the Android Nougat 7.0 update has brought to the system, and also how to get the best picture quality out of your SkyQ Silver Box to this television. I will be spending the next couple of weeks reviewing this TV, so if you have anything you want us to test, or if you have anything you want to know about this television, feel free to let us know in the comment section below. If you've enjoyed this video, please click the like button and subscribe to the HDTV Test YouTube channel for more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and as always, I'll see you the next time.